Today I'd like to invite you to join me as I plant tomatoes outside under double cover in early April, almost 4 weeks before our average last frost date. We've started cool weather crops early outside under cover for many years with great success. In fact, in all those years, I don't think we've ever lost a single cool weather crop to the cold when starting early under cover. Despite our many years of success with cool weather crops, this is only the third year we're starting some of our frost-sensitive summer crops early outside under cover. And today I'll be planting early season determinate tomatoes under double cover here in this low tunnel inside our hoop house. Let's get started. We normally plant out tomatoes in mid-May, but applying my rule of thumb of planting 3 weeks earlier with 1 layer of cover and 6 weeks with 2, I'll be planting in early April, about 6 weeks earlier than we normally do. This is our third year starting some of our tomatoes outside under cover, and so far we've had excellent results. We haven't lost any plants to the cold so far, and the tomatoes started outside have done just as well as those started inside. We've also had excellent results starting cucumbers, winter squash, and summer squash early under cover. But it's important to note that these crops are more vulnerable to the cold than our cool weather crops are, and it is possible to lose them. So we don't put all of our eggs in one basket. For example, I may be starting around 12 tomatoes outside this year, but I'm starting many more inside in the grow room, so we'll make sure to have plenty of tomatoes this spring. Today I'm planting 2 early season determinate varieties that do well in relatively cool weather for tomatoes. The first is Sophie's Choice, an open pollinated heirloom from Alberta, Canada. It produces fruit that are about 8 ounces on average and grows to maturity in 54 days. The second is Glacier tomato, a potato leaf variety that grows to maturity in 58 days and produces fruit that are about 1.5 inches. Though these 2 varieties are supposed to grow to maturity in less than 60 days, it may take longer than that at this time of the year. And I don't expect to be harvesting these tomatoes until well into June. To plant, I'm just putting 2 or 3 seeds in each hole, about 1/4 inch deep, and covering them with soil. I'm planting them about 2 feet apart, and I won't be pruning these determinate plants. I'll also start these same varieties indoors today, and I'll transplant them out to the garden in mid-May when we normally do, and then I'll compare the results. Now I'll wait until after the seedlings emerge before I apply compost, which will be the only soil amendment I'll be using. And the reason I'm waiting is that there may be viable tomato seeds in the compost, and I want to make sure that I'm growing the early season determinate varieties that I'm intending to plant and not a volunteer plant. Now, one important thing is that I need to get the soil temperature up to 80 degrees so these tomatoes will germinate. To make sure I'm getting enough warmth here in this low tunnel, I have this remote temperature sensor. And what I'll do is I'll monitor the max and min temperatures to make sure that I'm venting correctly so that we're getting temperatures in the low 90s during the day, at least on sunny days, and not too cold at night. Of course, many of these cool weather crops won't like those hot temperatures and will start to bolt. In fact, this kale already has. So what we'll do is harvest these plants fairly aggressively as they show signs of bolting. This will not only allow us to enjoy the plants before they bolt, but also it'll make more space for the tomatoes. I'll leave the cover on this low tunnel and hoop house until mid to late May, when nighttime temperatures are above 50 degrees and there's no chance of losing these tomatoes to the cold. Sometimes when people see me planting and harvesting so early in the season, they think that we must be having unseasonably warm temperatures in order to be doing this, but that's not the case. Though we have been spared the heavy snows that some parts of the country have had, our temperatures have been fairly normal for this time of year. In fact, March temperatures might have been a little bit below average, but perfectly normal. Right now it's only 32 degrees, and we're expecting a low tonight of 24, but of course it's much warmer than that inside the hoop house. The only reason we're able to plant as early as we do is because we're using cover. Well, I'm done planting Sophie's Choice. Next I'll plant Glacier back here in this area. It's a little difficult to film back there, so I'll go ahead and plant, and I'll get back to you when I'm done. Okay, I'm done planting our early season determinate tomatoes. Next I'll water, and then I'll cover all the beds. We want to get that soil temperature up to 80 degrees Fahrenheit as soon as possible so the tomatoes will germinate. Now we won't get there today because it's quite cold and cloudy, but after a few sunny days this soil will warm up nicely. I'll also be planting small sugar pumpkins today in this cold frame up here. If this year's experiment starting some of our summer crops early outdoors under cover goes well, we'll do it even more next year. The more crops we're able to start outdoors, the less we have to grow in the grow room, which means we save on electricity, we use less space in the grow room, and we don't have to harden off crops or transplant them, which is a big savings in time and money. Last year I didn't do a very good job of documenting the progress of the tomatoes started indoors versus those started outdoors. So I hope to fix that problem this year. And I'll give you regular updates on how the tomatoes are doing, and I'll include them all in a playlist. Here's a link to that playlist. As of today, this is the only video in the playlist, but we'll add more as they are available. Well, that's enough water for now. If all goes well, we hope to be harvesting tomatoes this year as early as June, about 4 weeks earlier than we usually do. Please wish us luck. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe for more videos on how to grow a lot of food on a little land without spending much or working harder than you have to. Hey Oscar, ready to go inside, buddy? Come on, boy. Oh, don't trip me. Let's go in the house, buddy. Come on.